Hello, hello. Welcome to the
Hello.
All In podcast with Nate Peo. We are live, and today I'm joined with Daya Naef. Daya is actually, she's part of the Success Partner, and she is a professional coach, mediator, entrenched in the legal and construction industries, being, bringing being and emotional intelligence development to goal setting and problem solving. Welcome to the show, Daya. How are you?
Thank you, Nate. That was great. That was an amazing introduction.
I kind of like muffed it, but thank
That's
you
okay.
though. So you're in the construction world. You're also in the legal world. We're also in some crazy, crazy times, and you've helped people with transition. I've had a lot of people talk about their transition to work from home in industries that were more office based, but the legal profession, the construction profession, I've never really gotten into the depths of what it's like to transition in the current situation. And so, how are you working with people as they transition to whatever it is we're doing right now?
That's a good question. This has definitely been the year of transition. As coaches, we say we work with people in transition, and there's like no one on the planet that hasn't had to do a transition of some kind. So, especially people that are in the professions that usually you meet face to face, you meet one to one, you work in teams all together in an office. It's been a bit of a challenge, and that's all just kind of relationship based. So I do a lot of work on relationships and leadership and how to get that to gel as people are moving up. So being more collaborative, being more cooperative within the organization, also with other organizations that are in parallel universe as those or as your organization. And it really you have to meet people where they're at.
hmm And what have you seen has been the biggest challenge in those industries with getting accustomed to not having the face to face? But even still, the construction industry is like one of those things like you have to go build it on the project. Like it can't be built virtually. We're not putting robots out there to put things together, even though the office space inside of things still is happening virtually. Like there's still an element that has to happen in person.
Absolutely, absolutely. And yes, when you say putting robots out on the site, it's like not yet, not yet. So that's where I think the communication of collaboration really goes hand in hand. And I do work in conflict management on teams, and especially with contractors and subcontractors and tradespeople. There are so many moving parts, and there's always a time deadline. And then now we have all the additional safety concerns. There was always a layer of safety concerns, and now there's an additional layer with COVID compliance and of course keeping people safe. And so and then this year has been a big delay in material arrival, materials coming from other countries, even cost of materials. Like this has been quite an anomaly this year. So working those things out, the sooner the better is what I would say is the key.
hmm that's an interesting thing you bring up is that construction projects have these deadlines, right? They have schedules and the financing of the project is all based on meeting the schedules. And if things get delayed, it costs a bunch of money. And here we are with material delays and we have workplace challenges where like, hey, a year ago we might have said we needed 20 people in this one space doing this work. And now we say, well, you can't fit with protocols more than 7 or 8 people. So if 7 or 8 people are in the space that 20 were supposed to be in, you got material delays. Like clearly your schedule is going to be extended. You're going to have cost overruns. How has that impacted projects and dealing with, will things continue this way or will they will there be like people just say, hey, we can't start our projects until this is sorted out?
People are going both ways with that. There has been quite a bit of delay in starting of projects, and then also at what point in a project can you stop and safely encapsulate the project. I mean, we're going into winter. And in different areas of the country, that means different things. So just to keep a big picture and keep a mind on the whole project if it's already in development. Some people who had not started their projects are like delaying. Most of the academic institutions have put off projects that were to start this year to start next year. So it's kind of odd. It's like this would be a great time to do it, being that there's no students on campus, but then it's not a good time to do it because they don't have the funding. So that all has to be balanced out. And people so far have been pretty good about delays from what I've seen. And at some point, the end of the line is the end of the line.
It really is. So you run a program called the Success Partner. So would you like walk me through a little bit about what it is you specifically do and who are your people you work the best with?
That's great. So the Success Partner is designed around, it was designed originally for the legal industry. So my background is in law, also in construction, as we've been talking about. And I designed it to fit the needs of the modern legal professional. The profession is not what it was 100 years ago. It was not what it was 20 years ago. It's changing very rapidly, a lot of disruption in the industry, and there's a lot of things that we're starting to deal with, like wellness and burnout and issues with the people who practice in the industry, as well as having to meet the demands of both work production and client development. So I was seeing that there was a disconnect in client development and relationship and leadership in the legal industry due to concentrating mainly on work
Hmm.
product and money generation for the firm. I mean, it's set on this really structural system, and that's all kind of changing up now. There are a lot more smaller firms in business than large firms. I think they say 74% of firms in the United States are 4 partners or less. So that has been and is going to be pivotal for the survival of the industry, able to kind of have that small firm culture that can adapt. So
Hmm.
that's kind of my sweet spot, working with individual attorneys and small firms.
Where did you get your inspiration to, you know, help out, get people guidance in this area and coach with them? Because I think the to me the legal profession feels like it's very archaic and like it's done the same way. We don't change it up. It's very traditional. It's work a bazillion hours. It's bill the clients and don't do anything differently. So how do you go in there and say like, hey, I'm gonna show you a different way. I'm gonna show you a better way to do it.
I'm not going to say it's been easy. I'd like to say it's like a more of a movement than a crusade, but at some point I feel like I'm shaking my tiny fist and saying we need to change. But more and more people are getting on board with it, especially people who have been in big law and they've burned out, or they're just realizing that they can't have it all. Actually, the newer generation coming up now has kind of been a demand for it, a demand for change, saying, we're not going to work those long hours. And that's another thing that I help with, is kind of that culture clash, that generational clash of, how to bring up the young people with the more healthy ideas about work-life balance, and then still mesh them with meeting the goals of the partnership. And sometimes that works and sometimes it doesn't work. Sometimes they'll need to have a different idea, maybe go to a smaller firm, or if that's something they want to do, or they can start making changes. They can start taking on some leadership and making those changes themselves.
Hmm. Where do you see the profession headed? I mean, what I've seen, one is COVID has shown us that like we can work remotely. Like the idea like you need to go drive into the office has been proven like no, we don't. Like we're getting stuff done. We're still productive at home, but there's still a need to be in person and having in-person conversations. But how has that impacted the legal profession? Or where and like you brought something up too, was the younger generation coming into it goes, I don't need to work these hours. I don't want to work these hours. I want to have a bit of a mesh between life, work, personal, professional. Like where does this take us? And is it possible?
It's happening. I think, I mean, we've been ripe for disruption for many years as an industry. And I think COVID just went ahead and put that on the fast lane. So there were a lot of things that had to adapt. The medical profession adapted, had to adapt. Some technological stuff had to adapt. And there are kind of old ways of doing things. Um, yeah, I feel sorry for all those like really, really fancy office spaces that attorneys have come to be known by. You know,
Mhm.
you go downtown and you pay a ton of money for parking and you go up into this lush space, and that's kind of part of the whole culture of the law firm and the whole, and it's what people expected, and it's what attorneys expected to be able to provide. And now we're beaming into each other's homes with dogs and kids and the things that we can't control, and certainly not putting that, you know, I can't beam a cherry wood table into your into your Zoom screen. Just can't. And is the quality of law any different? No, it's not. You're still getting the trained professionals and the paraprofessionals and assistants that have been working on your cases this whole time. It's just the perception is different.
Yeah. I think you bring something up as a good point of what's important or what used to be important and what's important in the future. And, we talk about big, lush cherrywood desks and, these high rise office spaces. And if you're using these companies as a client and you're spending big dollars on it, I mean, you could say like you're actually paying for it. You're paying for the privilege of going downtown to park at these high rent parking lot garages, go up the elevator, go to the top floor, pay for the high expensive furniture that goes in there. And it's like, are those things really necessary? Do they serve a purpose? And I think a lot of going virtual has exposed like what's really important. Do we need to have the the zip code, the right zip code for our corporate address, just because like our we're not going to attract the right talent, and so a lot of people go like, hey, I don't have to go drive to like the downtown New York City, LA anymore and commute 2 hours because I could work remotely and I can live where I can afford and don't have to commute. But I think the other thing is flip flop too, is like these companies that go, hey, I need to be in downtown New York. I need to be in downtown LA and have an office, or I'm not going to be able to attract the top talent because they want to live in these prestigious areas. It's like, well, you can go get an office space in the middle of nowhere, and your people that still live in these high dollar areas can telecommute to there, and then they could get something smaller if they need to do in-person things. So I think there's going to be this definite shift in how people view things with the workplace in the future. So I'd like to hear your thoughts on what that might be like.
I mean, I think you nailed it on the head. Everything is in shift now, and there's like people are moving. They're out moving out of the cities, and they because they don't have to. I mean, they were living in the city to be close to both work and the amenities of city life, and now we've gone 10 months now without the amenities of city life in most cities. Things are boarded up. Things are, the metro is shut down. It's like, okay, this is a germ factory right here in this tube of thousands of people running underground. We can't do that. We can't contain it. So that is something that people are really thinking about employers as well. They're like, we've cut costs. We don't have to provide services. I mean, just cutting down on coffee service for an office of 100 people. It's just the thought. It's like, they're not here to use it. We don't need it. And then again, the places that are going to open back up, they're going to do more social distancing and have more space. So the space could be reconfigured for the people that do want to come to the office.
Mhm.
So it's going to be changing, a lot of changing going on. I try to stay in touch with my commercial realtor friends, and it's like, okay, what's going on? Interior designers and architects, they are doing these kind of things. They're reconfiguring existing space to make it more conducive to what the work environment is looking like.
Yeah, it's crazy how things are changing. So, what's big in store for you for 2021?
Oh, that's great. Because of need and because of request, I have rolled out some lower end subscription. I don't want to say lower end, high quality, lower cost subscription programs for people to come, and it's kind of at will. It's like they can subscribe and they can get a weekly practice area for me for their what they're working on as a group, and then they can come into an open office type setting for support. And so that's going to be a model I'm rolling out in 2021. So you're not just stuck with just having a one-on-one coach. Or when I come into firms, I usually work with a firm for 2 to 3 months pretty intensively. So those products will still be available. But then if people are like, hey, I've got this, I just need some additional support and a time and place to meet you, it'll still be virtual, a time and place to meet you, then that'll be the new setup. So
Yeah, very exciting. So you would typically work with them through the program and show them some guidance on what they could be implementing on, working on specific problems, and then the course would maybe be a bit more generic that they could apply, but not necessarily focus on their each unique problems.
exactly. And then of course they're always optional to have an additional individual, and then individual sessions or individual even. Some people like to do the weekend boot camp model and just have their team come in virtually for 2 half days or 2 5-hour days and tackle it, and then they could subscribe them to an ongoing program from there.
Yeah. So what were you doing before you became a coach, and why did you decide like I should be a coach? Why not just do this in the role that you were in before?
I did do it some in the role I was in before. So I've been a practicing attorney since '99. Really got into practicing full time. I had a real estate company before that. Really got into practicing in 2005 in New Orleans, right after Hurricane Katrina. So I had a construction background and just dove right in with that, and over the years worked as general counsel for a couple of years, then a small firm, and then solo. And I was finding that I was more often than not talking people out of pursuing litigation. I was more looking at, why did you get into this partnership to begin with? Or why do you keep using this subcontractor that you're always going to have a problem gelling with? Or why don't you have a conversation with these suppliers or generals or architect or whatever earlier on in the situation before you start getting into this argument and the job is slowing down and more problems are happening? So I just kind of took it up a level and then up a level and then up a level, and then decided in 2018 to take a professional course in coaching. So that's what led me to Washington, D.C. to do that course for a year. And then I stayed on for an additional 2 years coaching for them with
Mhm.
their program, coach program. So, yep, pretty much jumped in with both feet.
Have you regretted leaving the law profession at all?
Um, Yes and no. I think once a lawyer, always a lawyer. And I do still consult. I had a call from a fellow attorney 2 days ago, and we spent a couple hours on the phone working through some stuff. And don't ever give up the knowledge or the expertise. And I just, yeah, it's very interesting. It's something that changes in you, when you go to law school and then you start practicing law. There is that analytical machine that works in here, and it only gets tickled in certain ways and
Mhm.
activated in certain ways. And so I do enjoy flipping it back on from time to time.
That's exciting. It's funny you say that because it feels like I've met at least a handful of former attorneys that like had done this path a lot of them were like, it was their dream job. Like, I'm going to be an attorney and I'm going to go, work on Wall Street. And then they get there, and I don't know if they were disillusioned on their original dreams or just realized that like it wasn't their calling, and pivoted and became coaches and just absolutely loving their new career. But they're still applying the knowledge that they learned through law school and through being in law. And I think this understanding of the profession of itself, and going like, hey, kind of get it. Like, like, I know what you went through. I know what it takes. I know probably a lot of the family pressure was on you to maybe even go down that route. And now when you question things, you want some help, and you're like, who do you turn to? Like, well, why wouldn't you turn to a coach that's been in your shoes and had those same experiences as you've had, that can kind of guide you out of maybe the place that you're struggling with at the moment. So
That's exactly the point. Thank you.
okay, cool. So I do want to ask you a question. As you've changed your direction in your career. So what does it mean to you to be all in on an idea or an outcome?
That's great. I think it is the difference between being on the field as a player and being up in the stands as a spectator, or even like up in the box being a commentator. So to be all in, you have to be on the field. You see the other players rushing you, you see the ball spiraling at you, and that you're there. You're 100% present, and you're on. So that's what all in means to me.
Awesome stuff. So were you thinking of a football game when you were describing that?
I know.
You have a team.
Can't take the South out of the girl. You can take the girl out of the South, but
You're, you're a New Orleans Saints fan then?
yes, of course, go Saints.
Right. They're not doing so bad this year. That's a good thing for you. So I appreciate you coming on the show. Why don't you tell us a little bit about who those ideal people you work for? What who are they at an emotional level that really connect with you and really you work the best with, where it doesn't even feel like you're working?
Mhm. Very achievement orientated people who they're smart, they're very good at what they do. I sometimes call them the intellectual trades, lawyers, CPAs, even some IT folks. They're very good at what they do, and but they don't know what they don't know. So like there's a whole other world out there in relationship and leadership, and they're just like, they know it's there and they just can't put their finger on it, and they're ready to explore that to get to the next level.
Awesome. And where can they go if they want to get connected with you?
It is, my website is the success partner .com, .net works too. And then also look up by my name on LinkedIn. I'm very active on LinkedIn.
LinkedIn's a great place to be connected. I'm a huge advocate of the platform. And I even like your profession of law. It's like people aren't using LinkedIn as effectively as they could to really tell their story of who they are and what they're doing in like a profession like law. And it's like, I think it's an opportunity for people out there to do that client development and get out there and do it. So anyways, I encourage anybody that's listening to reach out to Daya. And if you do reach out, say hello and have a conversation with her. And if you do have a conversation, be sure to let her know you heard about her on the All In podcast with Nate Pale. Those links will be in the show notes, so you can easily get connected. And I thank you so much for your time and enlightening us on what it is you do and how you do it for your favorite clients.
Oh, thank you, Nate. Glad to be here.
Thank you.